Hello everyone, today I want to talk about blood sigil creation. Sigils can be used in all kinds of ways, and you don't always have to create them with blood. You can create them with ink or other forms of writing or printing or design in general, or engraving for instance. But how to make a blood sigil? What makes it so powerful and beneficial in your life if you're trying to gain something that you simply haven't been able to gain through other methods? And today I'm going to create a simple blood sigil so that you can see kind of how it works. And right now I have, blood sigil creation, and the statement that I have written is right there. And the statement is, gaining any kind of knowledge is easy for me. Now, when you're writing a statement that you're going to do a blood sigil through, you want it to be very affirmative. You want to say, okay, I gain this knowledge, or I have the ability to gain this knowledge. You don't want to say, I want to gain the ability to have this knowledge, or I want to gain knowledge. You want to say either I have knowledge, or gaining any kind of knowledge is easy for me, as I've listed here. But if it's something else that's not knowledge, it can be strength. I am strong. I am the strongest in the field of mathematics. That helps you to create a sigil to where that sigil is your focus, and that sigil basically is brought into manifestation by you through the making of it and the blood, your life force. You're bringing it to life, and then that actually can have an influence onto your life that is separate from yourself. By giving it part of your life force that is your blood, you can actually do that. Now, the first thing we want to do is, okay, we have two copies of this statement. Gaining any kind of knowledge is easy for me. The reason we have two copies of it is so that we can actually cross out letters in one of them. Okay, the first thing that I do is I need to get rid of repeating letters. So basically I just cross out any letters that I see a repeat of. And it doesn't take very long. It just takes a little while. Cross out any letters that I see repeats of. Okay, and this turned out fairly easy, since it was an easy statement. Like a lot of the time you want an easy statement, a declaration of what the influences you want to have in your life. So basically I crossed out all the repeating letters. Now I want to cross out all the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So I will continue to cross out all the vowels, and we're left with a select few letters. So basically what we're left with out of this statement is, we have a G, and you want to write them in capitals. And you write them below the statement. After you've crossed out all the ones, all the letters left you want to write in basically a capital letter statement. So G, N. And if you forgot to cross out a certain letter, or there's a vowel that you didn't see before, go ahead and just get rid of it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so these are the letters that I'm left with after processing the statement, crossing out all the repeating letters and all the vowels. Now, after we do that, it becomes more intuition based. What we need to do now is we need to arrange these letters in whatever sigil feels correct to us. Now, this may seem like a strange exercise, like a strange idea, whatever feels good to us, but keeping the original statement in mind, gaining any kind of knowledge is easy for me. Keeping that in mind, we want to try to kind of form these basic letter forms into a sigil. And a sigil is kind of something you want to take a form that you haven't seen before. You don't want to produce something that is just a copy of some kind of symbol or some kind of shape or some kind of idea that you've seen before. You want it to come out as unique. You want it to come out as a product purely of this exercise, purely of sigil making, purely of this blood sigil making, as we'll get to eventually. But okay, what we're going to do next is I'm going to play with these letters a little bit, and I'm going to see what I come up with. Now, W and M are very similar, so those are interchangeable. And a few other of these are interchangeable as well. Like an L and an F are very close to each other. And something like an S and a D can be kind of interpreted in the same way when it comes to shapes, if you put the right line. But we want to try to use all these shapes, but if you don't feel like you have to, or you don't feel like the sigil is going to come out like you want to, if you use all the shapes, then that's completely fine. If you use all these letters, that's good, but you don't have to use them all. So I'm going to play with these a little bit and see if I can come up with a sigil. And you don't really want your sigil to look like there's letters in it. You kind of want to play with the images and come out with a shape that isn't obviously made up of all these different letters. So let's go ahead and get started. And as you play with this, there's no certain amount of times you can start drawing and stop drawing different combinations. You just want to play with it until it feels right. And I'm getting several different kinds of shapes here, several different combinations. And you kind of start to see that the K and the N and the W are very similar in shape. And the Y is easily fit in there if you're, basically just looking for it. But I'll continue doing this for a little while until I get something that really feels right. Letters can be turned upside down. Alright, now I feel like I have found a sigil And I kind of want to lightly cross out these other ones just in case I do want to end up using them in the future. I feel like I have found a sigil that is that feels right to me based on just my own insight for the statement, gaining any kind of knowledge is easy for me. I'm going to put a check mark by it so that you can see it. It might be kind of hard to see on the camera, I know. But basically, this symbol right here is what I want to use, and there's a check mark by it, so that's not part of it. That's the symbol I'm going to use. That's the sigil. That's what feels right to me right now. These are all the practice ones. And I kind of cross those out. But this is the one that that I'm going to go with. Now, you want to be very careful when you're drawing it out. You want to be very intimate with it. You want to really feel yourself drawing it. It doesn't have to be especially complicated. You don't have to add a lot of design to it, of course, around the edges, or you don't have to make it a picture. You just want to be very careful when you're drawing it. I'm going to go ahead and draw it, and then I'll show you the result. So I'm going to be very careful with how I draw this sigil that I've come up with. Just decided to add a little top to it. Let's see. From what I had earlier, a little top to it. And some of the sigils, you might want to place a border around. A circle border works well. A square border also works well. It kind of helps you to focus on the image. I'm not going to add a border right now for what I have, but borders oftentimes do help you focus on the image. And that's the sigil I've come up with right here. You can make it different, widths as far as the lines go. You can kind of like add some brief detail just as far as darkening the lines, and if a little bit goes beyond the line, then that can be part of the detail. Sometimes you might want to do it quick, kind of like a sketch, so that it feels like there's energy right on the outside of the lines, kind of adding to the lines. That's what I'm doing right here. Just kind of pin, 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 pin. And it feels more energetic when we do that, when we add lines like that. And this is the image here. This is the blood sigil, or will be the blood sigil. Okay, now I'm going to bring this sigil to life. If you're going to work with your own blood, I wouldn't encourage it. I would never encourage it on this video or any other video that I have. But if you're going to work with it, you have to realize that you need to use alcohol. You need to sterilize your skin beforehand. You need to sterilize with isopropyl alcohol. And that'll keep the germs from getting in wherever you puncture or cut. This is what it looks like. And you also need to use, not knives, which can make terrible big cuts, and I've learned that from experience, but use razor blades. These kinds of razor blades, because they make very small cuts, very small incisions, but they can provide a lot of blood since they can go deeper. Now, I'm not going to show me doing this because it'll get taken down, but you spray. Then, small cut. May this be the only pain felt, the only blood spilt. And don't immediately push hard on it if you don't feel like it's working, because then you'll end up hurting yourself a lot more than would ever be necessary. And you don't need a lot of blood, to be honest, because it's not about the quantity of blood on this. It's purely about you getting your blood on the whole entirety of the image. Every single line just kind of covered in your own blood, just even just a little bit is okay. And that's how you can really bring it to life, is providing your blood, your life essence, into bringing this symbol into life. Because in order for something to live, something that has life must sacrifice a bit of it or its entire life. That's how nature works. We have to, in order for something to live, something else has to die, because there is a constant system of fuel and creation. Something that dies is the fuel for something that will become. And that's true in our lives as well, even not in the literal sense I'm talking about, in our ideological sense. One idea that we believed has to die in order for us to have a new idea, in order for us to build off the ideas of our past. Okay, and now I'll go ahead and start covering this image. Do the central line first. I'm kind of doing it with my thumb so I can easily get the lines. But I'd recommend you doing it with a smaller finger, since you'll probably be getting a smaller amount of blood. That's just my recommendation. You can kind of feel this sigil coming to life. You can feel it coming into creation in a way that it couldn't without the life force that I've provided. That's how it looks so far. Don't squeeze too tight on your arm. Very elegantly and delicately put the blood to the lines. Be prepared to be intricate and not waste too much, because you don't want to waste any of the life force that's coming out of you. Because in blood, when you're bringing a sigil, a symbol, an idol to life, it's not just the blood that you're losing, it's a part of your life force that you're dedicating to a certain cause or a certain connection. So with that in mind, do this very carefully, as it should be done. Now, afterwards, you want to use the same alcohol to sterilize the wound. Wipe off excess blood with the paper towel. And then I would highly recommend using Neosporin, which heals up scars very good. You can get the pain ointment version of it, but any kind of Neosporin will work. And we're going to finish up this explanation of this sigil after I apply all this stuff. And I recommend using, a Band-Aid that breathes and it has good flexibility. I always use Band-Aid brand, and it's always pretty big Band-Aids. After you have everything covered up, see if I can get a good picture of that. Right about there. After that, you want to focus on this sigil. You want to focus on it and really think about what it means to you and how it can benefit your life. And you want to write this sigil whenever you feel like you need to learn something, or whenever you feel like you need this sigil as far as the task you're trying to complete. You focus on it. And you try to understand it, and then you don't really want to think about its meaning very much, but you want to feel the sigil within yourself and working its effectiveness within your life. That's what you do with the sigil. And if you want to draw it again and again and again, when you're trying to figure out something or trying to fulfill the purpose that it was basically created for, it being alive in the piece of paper that you created on actually does help. And you definitely don't want to get rid of this. You want to keep it, and you want to keep it safe. And you want to keep this sigil close to your heart and contemplate it on it regularly. And that's basically all I have to say about blood sigil work. But if you create these, make sure that you don't just toss them aside. You don't want your blood everywhere in the world. You don't want it to kind of just circulate in waste or whatever. And if you're going to get rid of a blood sigil, you want to make sure to burn it. Because if you don't burn a blood sigil, then it's likely to just be tainted throughout its travels, wherever it happens to go. And that's basically how it exists, is that you keep it safe. You keep it a part of your possessions. And then that's its life. That's where it draws its life from, the original source that it was created from, the original design that you created it in. And then that's how it has power in your life. And that's basically how you use blood sigils. Focus on them, meditate on them. And when you create them, do it sacredly. Something that's sacred to you, in a method or a technique that's sacred to you. And that's basically all I got to say about blood sigils. I hope you learned something. I wouldn't recommend, drawing your own blood, but if you're going to do it right, and do it effectively, and do it in a way that it actually works. And thank you everybody for watching. If you like this, please throw me a thumbs up. If you like videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you very much.